It's a very disturbing problem involving some of our most vulnerable people. About 2 million older adults in this country, 1 out of every 24, is a victim of elder abuse, whether it's physical abuse, financial abuse, or neglect. In Michigan, up to 90,000 older Americans are victims of elder abuse every year. So the question is, where does an older person turn for help if they are the victim of elder abuse? Well, starting today, Southeast Michigan now has its first and only elder abuse emergency shelter. And joining us today are Rochelle Upfall and Barbara Giles of Jewish Senior Life to tell us more about this. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, what are we talking about when we say elder abuse?
Elder abuse comes in 5 different forms: physical abuse, financial abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect.
And it's so troubling to even talk about it, but who's responsible for this? Who are the abusers?
Sadly, most often the abusers are family members and caregivers that intimately know the individual.
So an overwhelming number of these cases also go unreported, right? Why is that?
Elder abuse is a silent epidemic because so often the caregiver is the abuser. So there might not be a third party witnessing the abuse when it's happening, which is why it's so important to bring awareness to the issue, because it's neighbors, friends, bankers, others that become suspicious and sense little cues that abuse might be happening. But it's such a silent epidemic because of the caregivers being the abuser, and because the older adult might be concerned that if they report the abuse, that in turn they will have further negative things happen to them.
So let's talk about this shelter, because it seems like common sense. There should be a place where people can go if they are being abused. But this is the first one we've ever heard of in Southeast Michigan, Rochelle.
Yes, it is, and it is a very sad, silent epidemic. So we felt at Jewish Senior Life, given our mission to take care of older adults and provide housing programs and services, that we were best suited to have what is called a shelter without walls, where we take our existing communities, both in West Bloomfield and in Oak Park, and those who feel they need shelter for up to 90 days can receive good housing with the services they need, all free of charge, while we help the individual get back on their feet, get the services they need, get the emotional support, counseling from other agencies such as Jewish Family Service and other social service agencies, so that they can move back to where they were living before, or we will assist them in finding other good housing to meet their needs.
That's really amazing. We should also mention it's open to people of all faiths.
Absolutely. Anybody who needs this service, please, we would like them to call us, and we will help them in any way that we can.
And how does someone get in touch with you, and how does the process begin?
A person would call 248-661-0123, a very easy number to remember. This number is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All they have to do is make that call, and either Barbara is our director of the program or a social worker will call them back immediately and provide them with all of the information they need.
And what are the signs of abuse that we should look for among neighbors, friends, relatives?
Right. Well, certainly one of the signs is that if you notice somebody has any kind of marking on their body, bruises, that you notice somebody with a new cast, a broken limb, frequent hospitalizations are a big indicator. That's also why first responders are really critical in helping to identify elder abuse, because those repeated hospital stays are a cue. Another cue to bankers would be large withdrawals of money, that all of a sudden new signers are coming forth that you never had seen before. Sometimes if you're in a housing environment, failure to pay the rent on time could be a sign that financial abuse is occurring. Emotional abuse, you might literally hear the neighbors yelling or belittling or degrading, humiliating an individual, another sign that emotional abuse might be happening.
It is a stressful situation for a caregiver. It's not easy being a caregiver for the elderly, for an older person. So are there ways that we can prevent the problem from happening?
Yes, caregiver stress is really one of the ways that people feel in that pressure cooker situation where they happen to abuse, often unintentionally. But there are caregiver support groups in our community. Jewish Senior Life happens to run one, but there are many others that people can find out about by calling our telephone number. So caregiver support groups is certainly one way. And understanding a disease process. Sometimes these individuals are people with memory loss, memory impairment, and having a better understanding that somebody doesn't mean to forget what you're telling them. Someone didn't mean not to make it to the restroom in time. These are all things that might be part of a disease process that maybe if the person understood what was happening better, they would understand that someone is not being malicious to them.
Right. Okay. It's a very serious problem. Even here in Michigan, it's being funded actually through a grant through Governor Snyder's Say No to Elder Adult Abuse campaign, which highlights how important this is in our community. We're going to give the phone number again for help. It is 248-661-0123. Rochelle Upfall and Barbara Giles from Jewish Senior Life, thank you so much for being here today and talking about this very serious problem and a wonderful solution to help people get to a safe situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.